Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is Professor Sistrunk, and I'm reaching back out to the students. Okay, lately we've been talking about security. Today we're going to put a little twist on that. We're going to talk about protecting the organization. Now, you have been told by me several times that we want to focus on the individual, ourselves. But today we're going to take it a little step further. We're going to talk about protecting the organization. I want to talk about some tools that organizations should use if they're not, but we believe that are critically important for protecting the organization. And when I say we, I'm talking about the entire security network out there. Everybody who's involved in security. Now I know that you are eagerly digging into this because I'm looking at your discussion questions, and kudos to every one of you who are taking this really serious. You really starting to see my mindset when it comes to security, because every other week when you look at the news, we're being hacked by someone, or some organization is being disrupted because of hackers. So this is a good time for you to really dig in, because security is really big out there. We're going to talk about firewalls, security appliances, the software that we use for protecting the organization. We're going to talk about best practices, and we're going to talk about a few tools that Cisco has that help organizations with their security. Okay, with that being said, this is the start, the introduction to this session. So let's get ready to go off into the slides. So we're going to talk about all these different type of tools, and I hope, this is what I hope, that for those of you who will be going into the IT industry, you take this knowledge in the industry. Utilize these tools that I'm going to talk about to start applying it in the industry. So let's get ready. Let's go off into it now. Once again, this is going to be an interesting session, and you know I'm going to have an interesting question that I want you to start talking about, have in the discussions, okay? Let's move on. Okay, so we are back. And remember, we're talking about protecting the organization, but your takeaway should be this: how I protect the organization, I can utilize those same tools to protect myself. Don't think about money. Not right now. Don't get off into money. One of the most important things that IT departments face is when they're deciding on the tools to use to protect the organization, the first thing they think about is the dollar. How much will it cost? And this is my question tonight. Why do IT departments focus on how much the tools will cost instead of on how to protect the data better? So that's what I want you to walk away for the question tonight. Now, it's other things I'm going to add to this question, but that's the focus right now. So while you're going through this session with me, think about that. Why is always, let's think about the budget. Whoa. Let's think about how we can protect our data. Because if millions of people lose their data, can you imagine how much that's going to cost at the end of the day? So let's focus on that. Let's bypass that right now and just focus on understanding the different types of tools. Okay? But why do they do that? Okay. Moving on. So let's get into it. Yeah, we will be talking about explaining techniques to protect organizations from cyber attacks. We will also be talking about behavior approach to cybersecurity. These are two separate but equally important things that you need to be focused on. You need to know all the different devices out there that you can use to protect yourself, but you also need to understand the behavior of the people that's in your organization and outside your organization and how to protect the organization. This is going to be a casual conversation. It's not going to overwhelm you. It's just going to be a casual conversation about the security tools that's out there. Okay, so let's move on. So firewalls. What is a firewall? Well, the term firewall originated, and you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but it originated from New York City when they used to build firewalls to protect the housing in New York City. So New York City has this thing where they build houses extremely close. You hit stuff like brownstones and all that type of stuff. They build them extremely close. Well, sometimes it will be a fire, and the fire used to destroy all of the different housing or apartments. So what they implemented was a program where when they built a house and they was going to connect these houses together, they will build a firewall in between them. So if one house got caught on fire, the fire wouldn't go over into the next house because they built this firewall. And the firewall, as you can see from the picture here, was just a bunch of bricks, specially treated bricks stacked together in between these two houses. And when a fire hit one house and began to destroy that house, it wouldn't go over into the next house. So the firemen, or fire people, as we would say in this day, almost made a mistake, would come and put the fire out, but they didn't have to worry about the other housing or houses that was adjacent to it becoming destroyed or getting destroyed. You know what I'm talking about. We in IT use firewalls because we use firewalls to protect our data. Now, it's a plethora of different firewalls out there that you can use. That's the sweet part about the firewalls that's out there. Now, we consistently are seeing many different type of firewalls that one can use. One of the firewalls that was primary, the go-to firewall when I first started in this industry, and you see it right here, was the what we call Proxy Server firewall. It was really built to protect data when it comes in via someone connecting to your website. Well, that's an old firewall setup now. It's probably not in existence. I'm sure some people still use it, or maybe they modify it to be better, but that was one of the primary firewalls when I first came into the industry. And yeah, if you go back and look, now I just dated myself, so you can laugh. But anyway, a lot of the firewalls that you're going to see out there now, you can see you have the network layer firewall, the transport layer firewall, you have the host-based firewall. Now, wait a minute before you say, well, Professor, which one is the best firewall? It depends on your organization. It depends on what type of organization you have. It depends on the IT staff you have. Do they know how to use, or do they know how to implement the firewall? It depends on how much you want to spend, your budget. That pops up again. And some people swear, oh, guess what? The host-based firewall is the best firewall, or the network layer firewall is the best firewall, or the transport layer. Listen, it depends on your organization, and really it depends on what type of data you have in your organization. Now, some people will debate with me on that, you know, especially the hardliners. But I'm going to say this. You will have this for surety, a mixture of different type of firewalls in your organization. You may have one or two different type of firewalls, but you will have a mixture, so that you can count on. And just taking a look at them, what do the firewalls do? Well, you can see here, a network layer firewall just simply filters based on source and destination IP addresses. The other ones, like for instance, the application layer firewalls filter based on application programs or services. So it depends on what your organization is really trying to protect. It depends on the skill set. Like for instance, some people like to use Cisco routers and switches, and they will not accept anything else in their shop but Cisco routers and switches. Some organizations like to use IBM routers and switches, Cisco routers and switches, a mixture of things, Dell routers and switches. It depends on your organization. And when I say it depends on that, it really depends on the IT managers and the IT VPs and where they're coming from, because they really get to make the decision on what will be implemented in an organization. So it's the same thing with firewalls. But remember I said this, you will have a mixture of different type of firewalls. For instance, one of the things that you definitely will have is some software on each one of the desktops, that software firewalls to protect. So it's a mixture of things going on. So let's move on. But remember, there are a plethora of different type of firewalls out there. This is just a basic list. It's more than just this. Okay. Now, port scanning. Now, port scanning works both ways. It works for the organization as a plus, but for criminals out there, it works for them too as a plus. So let's just get a little definition of port scanning. Port scanning is the process of probing a computer, server, or other network host for open ports. So one of the things I try to tell students in my class, and some of you know this, you need to know your ports. You need to know the ports and the port numbers attached to those ports, because the ports are where you have to protect. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about because you haven't been in a class with me, that's one of the things I hype on, is protecting your ports, understanding your ports, knowing your ports. Because this is how people get inside of your organizations, through your ports. Now, as you can see right here, like I said, port scanning is a process of probing your computers. As an IT manager, you want to set aside days where you send out a probe to make sure all of your ports are secure. The ones that should be open are open, the ones that should be closed are closed. But see, this is how hackers scan systems too. You know, they go out, send a probe out there to try to see what ports you have open. And that's why it's important that IT managers use a tool called NetMap to actually scan ports. Now, NetMap is one of the standard tools out there that you can use, but just remember that we have industry standard tools too that can do a better job than NetMap. And it's just that they cost a little bit more money, but NetMap is the basics out there. So you want to utilize this tool to check and see what ports are open, what ports are closed. And as you can see right here, sometimes when you send this out, it'll filter or just see if the ports are dropped or blocked. You want to make sure that you look at all of your ports, and it should be someone in the IT team that's their job, to check and make sure all the ports are accounted for, meaning that they check to see what is open, because we want it to be open, and what is closed. And they should do it from two different points of view. They should do it as inside the organization, scan ports, and then they should be outside the organization and scan the ports. But make sure the person that's outside works for your IT department. Don't just let anybody go do that, because the hacker's gonna do it. They're gonna scan to see what ports that they can utilize to hack your organization by simply seeing what is open. So that's important. And you can read that. You can get more information on port scanning, but that's a tool that you should know about. And NetMap, if you go to online, if you just type in Google NetMap, you will find tools out there that will allow you to use that. The ports that we consider the critical ports, and I'm going to show you these ports. That's what I want you to focus on. As you can see, it gives you this information that's important about your network. But the ports that we consider the most critical ports is, port 21, port 22, port 25, port 80. You should know the name of these ports. If I walk up to you and say, port 80, you should tell me what port 80 is. You should know that. Port 443, these are critical ports that should be open or should be closed depending on your organization. Okay? So that's an important thing to look into. And just remember, this is how hackers get inside of your organization, through your ports. They have other means, but this is one of the most important ones. We're going to talk about the other ones as we go forward. Okay, now security appliance. Now you may say, well, Professor, you just told me about firewalls. Isn't a firewall a security appliance? It could be. You could use it like that. But a security appliance has a special approach to the network now. Security appliances can be standalone devices like routers or firewalls. So security appliances, I can take a firewall or I can take what we call a router and make it a security appliance. Well, what is the purpose of a security appliance? Whatever you want it to be. Do you want it to scan your traffic? Do you want to make sure, like for instance, if I take a router, do I want to make it an intrusion protection system, IPS, where it can encrypt? I can set up a VPN where that can be also encrypted data transferring from one location to another. So that's what you use in security. As you can see right here, the security appliances that you see right here, these particular appliances are dedicated security appliances. So just remember, another tool in your tool belt. We got firewall, we got security appliances where we can take a firewall or a router and turn it into a security appliances. We got port scanning. Remember these tools that will help you secure the organization. But remember, I said, think about it like this. How do we use it to secure ourselves? Okay, moving right along. I know you're getting tired of me saying that. Yes, indeed. Now, let's talk about the different type of attacks. This is what I want you to understand when someone attacks you or try to steal your data. Everything is predicated on the idea that the quicker you can find this information out, that someone is attacking you, a hacker, the better you can protect yourself. I'm going to tell you right now, if a hacker wants to hack you, they will hack you, no matter what type of tools you have. But you want to mitigate those attacks by having all these type of tools. Because one thing hackers really don't want, they don't want to get caught. So if they consistently try to attack you, and you have the right tools, you can find out who the hacker is and begin to attack them, or at the best, have them locked up. So with these type of tools here, when it comes to detecting attacks, you want to quickly hack your system so you can immediately begin to protect yourself. And that's what we want for organizations. So you will hear things like the zero-day attack. The zero-day attack simply means, when did that person attack you, so we can start fixing this problem, making sure they do not get a lot of your information. But we got other tools that can actually protect against them. You see right here where it says real-time scanning from end to end. You want to be able to consistently scan your network. Detecting attacks in real time requires actively scanning for attacks using firewalls and other security appliances. It's important that you do that. So if someone actually hacks your system, the quicker you find out, the better off you are. Okay, so now let's talk about best practice. You can see it's multiple things that you can, for example, encrypt your data. How many of you got a laptop where you go into Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts or other places with your laptop, but you do not have your data encrypted on your laptop? So if somebody steals a laptop, the data is encrypted. They can't get the data, so you don't have any worries. It's a tool on your every computer that would allow you to encrypt your data. That's going to be in the question too. What is that tool? What tool do you have on your computer that would allow you to encrypt all your data? So if a person steals your computer, you still protect it because you know they can't get your data. So educate users. We talk about that all the time, educating users. You know that if you're working for an organization, the primary focus of the IT team is to make sure people have the intelligence to know not to go to website or open emails that they shouldn't be doing. So it should be a consistent training within the organization. Okay, let's move out. So pause this, read through these steps, keep these steps so you'll know how to respond in an interview